If your mix sounds like this, but you want it to sound like this, then chances are you're falling into the trap that most producers do. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step exactly how to improve your mixing by 132%. So you can create loud and clean beats that hit and get real praise from artists. I'll also be showing you how to break every rule you've heard on YouTube about mixing on purpose. All right, so we're going to be covering two different approaches when it comes to mixing. The second approach is my personal favorite, but we'll get to that later. To start, let me show you approach number one. Approach one. Clarity. All right, so approach one is making clean, placement ready beats that hit hard. So we've got this beat by me and MP on the beat. I've reverted all of the leveling, the effects, everything to 0. So I'm going to walk you through the entire process to mix this from scratch. So the absolute first thing I'm going to do is put a soft clipper on my master channel. If a sound goes above 0 dB, it clips and it distorts. Once it clips, that distortion is permanently baked into the audio and can't be removed later once the beat is exported. A soft clipper is like a safety net for your volume. It lets you push your sounds loud up without letting them distort. This will enable me to crank up the volume of sounds like the 808 to really make my drums smack. In one of my previous videos, a very helpful viewer commented this. Pause if you want to read it, but I'm not going to lie to you, I do not do all this and my beats still sound good. So all right, so we're going to be adding more to this master chain later to make the beat sound even cleaner, but for now this soft clip is enough. First thing I'm going to do is send our melody to a mixer track with Control L. Then I'm going to apply EQ, and then we're just going to remove the low end from the melody. This is to give space for the lower frequencies for the drums. If we've got the low end from our melody, once we add an 808, both of them are going to clash to compete for space, and it's going to produce a really muddy sound. When you're mixing, think of your frequencies like sections in a club. Now your 808, it's in the VIP. Now, if any of these brokies in different sections try getting into the VIP, the vibe's gonna be all fucked up. If any of the VIP try going into the brokey section, someone's getting robbed. So reserve the low end for your 808s and your bass. For the mids and the highs, the rules ain't really that strict. Now, I have no specific numbers when I'm doing this. I just do it by ear. When people start talking in hertz and all that shit, you lost me. All right, so this is mainly a game of volume. Good sound leveling will do 90% of the mix for you. I don't mix to specific dB numbers. I don't overthink it. I just move quickly and I trust my ears. Make your main priority actually laying the foundations of the beat down to start with. If you're overthinking the volume of each sound while you're making the beat, it will throw you out of that flow state. You can always go back and tweak stuff later if you want to. All right, so I'm just gonna mix this layer by layer. So let's enable the 808. Now, immediately what's sticking out to me is that the melody is just way too high, so let's drop it. The 808's already coming through a bit better. Now, I want this 808 to smack a bit more. Let's give it a tiny bit of boost. Now, let's unmute the snare. Yeah, that's good. Right, let's go for the snap. When I'm leveling my sounds, I pretty much just do it in the channel rack. It's exactly the same as doing it in your mixer, but I don't have to select the sound, send it, and go and do that. I can just quickly do it here. It makes no difference which way you do it though, so whatever feels more comfortable for you. Once I've got the levels how I want them in here, when I use the mixer, it's just a case of doing like final adjustments. Let's just send all these to mixer tracks. Now for the next part of the beat, we've got a secondary 808 layered over this note. But one thing I like to do when I'm using multiple 808s is with the second one, I'll do an EQ and I'll remove a little bit of the low end off of it so that this 808 doesn't clash too much with the main one. This is with the EQ off. It sounds cool, but it could be a bit cleaner. Jesus. Now, I think what I'm gonna do is put an EQ on the spins because there is quite a bit of high end coming through on it. this is without the EQ. %95 of the time, you won't really need to EQ your 808s, but this one, that subtle little high end was throwing me off a bit. Yeah, this is way too loud. Let's send this part loop to a mixer track, EQ out any low end it's got. And this CTM, it's just way too much. So we're going to do what we did with the other 808, and we're just going to EQ out the low end so that it can be present, but it's not competing for space with the main 808. So instead of this, this space is sounding disgustingly crap. So let's send it to a mixer track. Let's up this snare a bit too. Actually, I think I've turned it up a bit too much now. Now, once you've got the main structure of your beat down, there's a few simple things that you can do to make your mix sound way more dynamic. For example, panning to add some movement. So let's grab this perk loop. Let's apply a pancake. Let's set that to 1 bar. Now, I don't want the entire sound to be panned, so drop the mix. And as you can see, this sounds more interesting on the ears than this. Another simple thing we can do is to just add some reverb for some space. So we can go to our snap, or we can apply a Valhalla vintage verb, but drop the mix way down. Just adds a bit of space and ambience to the beat. Let's pan this Vox a bit. And I want to pan this second 808 too. So let's make a pancake. Let's go to a quarter. Yeah, that's cool. Pan this too. Just panning this as well. I think what I'm gonna do is take this bass and I'm going to apply a wider to it. I'm going to use this low bypass. Everything up till here won't be affected, so we can keep our low end mono. I think I might also make the melody a little bit wider as well, because it's seeming quite narrow. To add a bit more clarity to our mix, we're going to add a Fresh Air, which is a free plugin. This lightly enhances the high-end harmonics and makes the beat feel a little bit brighter. You don't want to overuse it though, or your beat's going to sound a bit deep fried. And now we add a VST that is not talked about enough in the trap community, and that's OTT, which is a free plugin. OTT is a multi-band compressor. It ups the gain of quiet sounds like your percussion and lowers the gain of loud sounds like your 808. So it kind of squashes your beat together and reduces the gap between loud and quiet. This makes the beat feel louder and more vibrant. It also brings out some subtle details that you wouldn't normally hear. We can also use this to really crank up our 808 without throwing off the balance of the mix. Just don't overdo it too much because it can really flatten out your beat. I just use a tiny bit. But now since we got the OTT, maybe we can crank up this 808 a bit. I've I've got an even crazier VST to show you when we move on to the next mixing approach, but we'll get to that in a second. Here's our beat with just our soft clipper alone. Let's turn on our master chain. Just a lot more clarity and balance in there. Approach 2, the anti-mix. Now I call this approach the anti-mix because it throws all of the rules out of the window. We can clip, overly distort, no rules. I prefer this approach because it's about emotion and energy over theory. These beats go against everything a pro mixing engineer will tell you. But do you think any of these people care? The shit bangs. Now let's get into how I intentionally made one of my mixes sound like shit. This is more like a TikTok remix beat than a beat that can actually be rapped on. So I wanted the drums to have pure aggression and distort. So I grabbed this Destroy Lonely 808. It was already sounding pretty distorted, so I didn't really need to do anything to it. I also used this little EQ knob to saturate the high end a bit. If we do it to the left, we saturate the lows. If we do it to the right, the highs. I also played around with the velocity of my 808, increasing the velocity on some notes to add more of a distorted sound to it. This distortion kind of adds an extra layer of bounce to the drums. I also panned some of these notes too, just to kind of make your ears think, what the fuck's going on? I also experimented with dropping my notes really low to distort the whole beat. Next, I added these stomps to add some more aggression to the drums. As you can see here, this lower note, hard. Now let me show you another master chain plugin that you can mess around with, and it's called the God Particle. The God Particle is basically a loudness and polish plugin. It's a chain of compression, saturation, and limiting, all tuned to work together. You throw it on your master, turn one knob, and it makes the beat feel louder, cleaner, and even more glued. It doesn't magically fix a bad mix, but if your levels are already decent, it adds that finished kind of Just don't crank it up too much or it'll start killing the punch and dynamics of your beat. Here's with. Here's without. Now, honestly, if you're just making a placement type beat, you can get away with just a soft clipper and a bit of fresh air, but always experiment and see what works for you. I'm just providing you with options you can try out. You might be watching this and thinking you're doing way too much, but this is what works for me. All right, now you can have the perfect mix, but if your drums suck, everything that you've just learned is useless. So you'll probably need to watch this video next.